I got the swag going
I
for me
see
in
it. I
that
see it
way.
with the lightning bolts.
I still got the I
Sean
still
is
got the drip
electric.
drip. I still
He
got the
is
drip drip.
electric.
Mm-hmm.
And
What up?
Jalen
Yeah.
down there with what, man? Coffee, tea,
Coffee. Yeah,
orange juice.
shout out, Stay Rebel. Yeah, my boy Ryan got to wear his stuff, man. You know, had to show out. Yeah, I got the coffee though, man. I do got a coffee.
Dope. Oh man, for Sean, we are live.
And we are alive.
Look, bro,
Welcome everybody to Woodward Pistons. Not
it's
table
live.
talk, just an impromptu live stream coming to you talking about the last couple of days, Pistons exit interviews, getting ready for one of the biggest off seasons in Detroit Pistons history. I'm one of your hosts, Sean Murphy, alongside my guy, Brandon Dent, aka my boy Kool-Aid, the Woodward Sports, Woodward Pistons beat reporter, finishing his first season on the beat. But congratulations, by the way, Kool-Aid. How did it feel after you wrapped up those wrap up exit interview press conferences and realized your first full year going in is in the wraps?
Like there's more work to do. That's realistically it. Now the real work is going. No more games to base articles on and things of that nature or content. Now it's and not even speculation. You don't want to speculate too much. You kind of want to stick to what the plan is supposed to be and kind of follow that to a tune. And so I was talking to Mike Curtis about it too, and we were like, man, we got to the end of the season and thought we could take a break. And realistically, it's a whole new ball game. But it's refreshing. It kind of got sad as the end of the season came around, saying your goodbyes to all the people at the last home game. But it got to a point where we realized we're going to be just still connected to the game. When I got that invite from the Pistons to attend media day, the exit interviews, the season-ending media sessions, I realized this is going to be an all-summer thing. So it was kind of shout out Carl. It was kind of happy, kind of sad, but kind of empowering, man. I'm looking forward to what is the most optimistic time of the year, and that is Troy Reaper season. Troy Weaver, man, he's about to get busy. I got the optimism shades on, so you guys already know. Last year we was a buffed up summer. This year it's the optimistic shades. I'm what I got off of the last 2 days from the players, from Troy Weaver, from Coach Casey, is that they were annoyed. With the season. They were annoyed with the play. They didn't expect to be this bad, even when they lost Cade, though they understand. And ultimately, they have a plan and a way forward. They definitely do. And so wanted to be able to jump on, answer whatever questions that people had, and then be able to get into what the offseason strategy is based on some things that Troy Weaver had talked about. But I just want to kind of go around, starting with you, Sean, based on, I know the quotes have been out there, the video has been out there. I know you guys are well studied as well. What's been your takeaway? For me, it was about their annoyance, and they're ready to get amped. They're ready to get back out there. What was kind of your overall takeaway, Sean?
Well, first of all, I do want to introduce the other guy that is with us as well. We do have our guy Jalen joining us as well. Jalen Horn. Jalen, welcome to the show. What up, Doe?
What up, though, family? Early morning talks. I'm ready, man. It's gonna be a good one. I know Kool-Aid has some good stuff for us. I know you do too. So I'm just here to put my my little info towards it and my 2 cents, maybe 10 cents. You never know.
What about that 15 cents? Because Troy Weaver, man, he can make $1 out of 15 cents.
Hey, see,
he dropped a couple bars yesterday.
He did.
There were some quotes that were some real bars. I think what I took away from the exit interview, I texted this to you yesterday. I was like, man, Tom Gores, Troy Weaver, and Dwayne Casey must be watching our content, because there were just words and phrases, and it just, honestly, a lot of it sounded like things that we were saying all season long, things that we were saying in the midst of the dark days. I mean, I kind of, I almost gasped when I read Tom Gore's statement, and he called Dwayne Casey the steady hand, which is what I have been calling Dwayne Casey all year long. And, like I just, in addition, you just hear, how optimistic everyone is, how bought in all the players still are. And I just think, it's one of those things where it feels like the right time for a coaching change, but at the same time, it feels like the right time for Dwayne Casey to, be elevated to the front office. And the way that, the organization did so, and the way that, they just treated him with the utmost class and rolled out the red carpet for him over the last couple of days, I just thought was more than deserved. I loved the speech as well from Troy Weaver about Dwayne Casey and how much he's meant to the organization, all the bullets that he took, over these last couple of years. But also, I think he showed an understanding, I think Troy Weaver showed an understanding of what this summer means, what they have, going for them, what assets they have. But also, it's pretty clear. I mean, you brought up I was raised to make a dollar out of 15 cents, I think with Troy Weaver, he's never went and relied on lottery luck to build what we've built now. Like he's making his own luck. I mean, you look at the positioning that the Pistons have in this upcoming draft. It's not just the fact that they're locked to get a top 5 pick. You know what pick they have in the second round? They have the 31st pick. So they have 2 picks in the top 31. For all intents and purposes, the 31st pick is the closest thing you can get to another first round pick. So for Troy Weaver to go out and essentially make his own luck, to go out and get even more talent to add to this team this offseason through the draft, but also through free agency. But also, I believe Troy Weaver when he said that he doesn't think the lottery is going to be an issue for as regards to getting a head coach this offseason. Because if I am a head coach, in looking at all the rebuilding situations, I think this is one of, if not the most attractive head coaching position in the NBA right now. So I think, quite frankly, I think there's a lot going for this team. I think, like you said with Cade Cunningham, we know exactly who he is and what he's going to be when healthy. It's just a matter of what pieces we can see put around this puzzle. And, quite frankly, I think it's going to be, I know a lot of people are cynical. I know there's certain people out there that don't know how good Victor Wembanyama is or even who he is apparently. But, believe me, there is a lot of reason to be optimistic no matter where we land in the lottery this offseason.
Yeah. Hey, there's a lot of good reasons. A lot of good points that you made there. That's kind of been the refrain that Rod and I were going over with the Woodward Pistons podcast. It will be out dropping today, as always, at 1 p.m. But Jalen, what was your takeaway, man, from just the last 2 days of just hearing the guys, the players, the coaches, the coach and Troy Weaver speak, man? What's kind of been your takeaway?
I feel that the interviews were more like a reminder to like the fans that the players are always with Casey. We had a lot of people, a lot of doubt. That he wasn't connected with them, or he wasn't being a good coach and stuff like that. But you heard Cade, and you heard Stu, you heard Ivy, all of those guys saying how important Casey was in the development. As players this year, we had a rough year, but he was still coaching. He was still locked in. He'd go to events, and then Troy Weaver coming in at the end, reassuring that this is our guy. Like he was our guy, and that's why we still have him here. So for me, it was good. It was a morale thing. I think it boosted morale for a franchise and everything. And the plan in the summer is just that it's go time, and next few months, and you can see the players too. I think Kay was saying that this is our year. Next year is their year. So I think he can't wait to get back out there. Duran and Ivy. It's just it's good to see for a team standpoint and a fan standpoint, because you see they all have one goal, and it's starting to the Infinity Stones are starting to get put in place.
Talk on it.
It's going. I'm just saying, man. It was nice to see, because I try my best to watch each one. I'm following you. You got the hug right there, man. It's good to see. So I think it's good for the team morale. Team. It's a confidence boost for us fans too, to see what's going on. So
and
I'm happy for it.
That's a group that I'm comfortable leading our basketball team. I'm comfortable with them leading the team. Troy Weaver spoke to just how much Casey meant to him and his family when he first got to Detroit. He said, yo, he meant everything to me during that time. He was like, and to what Sean spoke of, it was just interesting sitting there and seeing it. Like when Weaver first walked in, you could tell there was probably some tears that had been, shed. Like this meant something to him. He was like, he wanted to make sure he came in and commended Casey in front of everybody. He even thanked the media for covering him respectfully. Why? Because it was never about wins and losses. When he made the commitment to the team the first time, it was about winning now. When Troy Weaver was hired, they had a whole conversation with Casey from the owner, and it was about a commitment to the rebuild. They wanted to retain him for the rebuild. They wanted the qualities that he brought. They knew that it was going to be some bad basketball. They knew that was an extreme possibility, but they wanted the foundation. Their players that they were going to try and build upon, they wanted those guys to make sure they had the best foundation, period, because we've seen guys that we've had a lot of hope in and it just never panned out. We've paid guys that we had a lot of hope in and it just didn't pan out. So from what we see out of this current crop of like young players, and the fact that what you're saying, Jalen, them crediting Casey for it, that was just the constant refrain. The first comment of the day from the players' media session was about Casey. And every other player that sat down continued to kind of give the same and give the same and give the same. And you know what they all said? They all state, and it sounds funny now when we look at these players, but they all stated that Coach Casey gave them an opportunity, gave them a chance. And I'm sitting here, it's like, what are your Jalen Duren? Jalen Duren spoke on it. Bobby Marks of ESPN spoke on it. Other people spoke on it. It wasn't just like kind of around here what we heard is Jalen Duren going to go down to the G League. Troy Weaver spoke on it. Other GMs had this question. Maybe he might have to start in the G League. You know what Troy Weaver said? He said that Coach Casey, and Duren backed this up. Coach Casey said, "There's no way he's playing down there." He was like, I followed him since he was since before Memphis. He was like, he's not going to be anywhere in the G League. He's going to be here the entire time. And Troy Weaver said that Casey was a big part of making that decision, of making him comfortable with that pick even more. So like they knew Jalen Duren. He was high up his draft board, but to know that they were in lockstep with, no, we know the type of player he is. And Jalen Duren talked about, he was a little nervous about going to another place where he might have to go down to the G League. He was like, nah, man. It was so funny, man, with the throw out and everything. He was like, nah, I know what I am. So I'm thankful that Casey believed in me. Wiseman, I'm thankful for the opportunity. Marvin Bagley, I'm thankful for the opportunity. All of these players who have these chips on their shoulders, and what did Ivy say even? We got chips on our shoulders. How do you manufacture that? The 2004 squad had chips on their shoulders, but they weren't young players. How do you get that out of young players who were asking to win sooner than those guys? So it was interesting to see, and Isaiah Livers, he talked about kind of the spirit that Coach Casey continued to instill upon the players, and that it was realistically about, he don't want to see nobody loafing. See, there are other coaches who might have come here doing a rebuild and let those boys slip, man. Not really cared about who they are as people. Not really cared about still carrying yourself with dignity, regardless of your wins and losses, because sometimes that can affect things. So Casey's job was about making sure they still went in there every day and practice and played as if they're about to go in there for game 7, even if the talent and the skill didn't match up. Even if the roster construction didn't match up, their job still was to go out there. And who's good at being able to prepare a squad for playoff runs? Who's good at preparing a squad for big games? Well, Casey's been involved in those things. Who's considered a professional in this league on and off the court and has been credited with helping players on and off the court? Well, Coach Casey. If your guys are ready to win, then we can get into the whole aspect of, well, schematic, scheme, voice, this, that, and the other. By the way, Troy Weaver, he stated that the voice, they're not hiring a coach for a new voice. He said that the voice that Casey had this year was a voice that's been echoed from ownership down to the GM, and that's what Casey was kind of carrying forward for the organization. But I'm kind of glad that you kind of went that way with it, and I'm glad that Sean also brought up as well, the statement about Casey effectively and knowingly taking the bullets for the organization, and that moving forward in this restoration, he's going to play a vital role. They're still carving out what his role will be, but he's going to play a vital role, they say, definitely in player development. So,
And Vince Ellis actually this actually correlates really well. Vince Ellis actually just released an article about 20 minutes ago on Pistons.com that says why Detroit Pistons owner Tom Gores is welcoming his partner Dwayne Casey into the franchise's front office. And a big piece of it is, Dwayne Casey said Tom Gores stuck to his word. He said that when Tom Gores recruited Dwayne Casey here, that they were going to be partners. And that's exactly the way that he's treated him. That's exactly the way that, that he's being welcomed into the front office. And, I just, again, it just speaks to how they respect and admire him, but also how they're, respecting and admiring the loyalty and the, the integrity that he had with this franchise day one. I mean, think about it. Again, you said that I brought it up before about how he essentially sacrificed, his final years of his coaching career, but he came to Detroit with the agenda to compete for a championship. Whether that team could actually do it or not is an entirely separate conversation.
Yeah,
But
and
he
that
came
wasn't
here,
his job to put it
yeah,
together.
but he came here to compete. And then he was part of the conversation of saying, we need to head a different direction, knowing full well that that would affect his record, his reputation, his overall well-being. But he did it
The
anyway
hits
because
from the
that was what was
fans.
best for the organization. And if people don't recognize how big of a deal that is, I mean, that's what the Pistons needed for almost 20 years.
Yep, and
So,
and it was interesting too because at the tail end of the press conference, I was kind of wanting to ask Casey this question the whole entire time. But obviously, there's a hierarchy and there's guys in there who understand how to handle themselves in our room. I feel like Cade now that I went through the first season, I know how to handle myself in year 2. Like I know how to get those questions in there and everything. But I was able to ask him about his commitment, not just to winning, because that's what his first commitment was. He was like, I never broke my commitment to winning. This organization will get to winning, and he's hoping to see it while he's still here. You know what I'm saying? But he made a commitment beyond that, just that first year to, like Sean said, the restoration. But in that very first press conference, what was his actual commitment to? The city of Detroit. And he was serious about the man. They do so much stuff in the city. He and his wife, Brenda Casey. And that's something that I know they want highlighted. And I was able to ask him, can you elaborate on that and what that means? And he talked about just being an ambassador. And one of his quotes that, kind of popped off was the one where he said, our city gets a lot of negative vibes because they haven't lived here. Talking about the people who kind of just hate on it and throw stones and all that. He said, my wife and I, we love this city as much as any we've lived in. And you got to think about the NBA cities that he's coached in. He's just talking about the people that they actually meet, not just the people that sit online and throw the stones and everything, but, the ones that have kind of been clued in and understand. And he said this, he told me, man, we got to talk to him afterwards too. And he was very grateful, grateful with his time and everything. I was honored, man. Like, he's just sitting there talking to us. He was like, I don't care if you guys want to come at me about X's and O's. I'm not perfect. He's like, I messed up on some things. So that's not the criticism he's talking about. He's not talking about that type of stuff. He's talking about the things that may go over the line, things that may go overboard, things that may go beyond basketball, things that go beyond what the the GM and the owner are actually saying. It just, I don't know. But unless you guys had anything else to say, at least on the Casey aspect of it all, I did want to kind of transition to the offseason strategy based on a couple things that Troy mentioned.
Yeah, no, I think you pretty much said it. I think you pretty much nailed it. And I think, now I think we can focus on, focus on what's next, who can potentially be, potential coaching candidates. I think honestly, Dwayne Casey did, a great job. That I think part of why that job is attractive is because of the work that he did. So I think,
A good word
whoever
to
steps
use.
in there is primed to succeed.
Attractive is a good word to use too.
I do feel like, oh, my bad, Sean, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say really quickly to this question, Ben Wallace, because the last time Ben Wallace represented, so I'm just saying you roll with that card until it doesn't get you the jackpot.
I'm with you there. I'm with you there. What's good, Jenna?
I was gonna say to what you said about like Dwayne Casey with the city, like Detroit's a real blue collar. We down gritty. if you rock with us, he rock with you. You can tell Dwayne Casey, as he said in the interview, he's here. He loves the city. He's been he's been Toronto. He's been a lot of other nice places and
Dallas.
whatnot. But yeah, he's been in great cities and stuff. But for him to say how much he has us and how much he loves it here, that's 1,000% more you can get out of a coach. If a coach is in your city doing work, that not just coming to games coaching. Okay, games that I'm leaving. He's in the city. He's coming to events at Imagine and things like that. I've seen him everywhere doing stuff like that. And I think it's just a bright spot for the Pistons. And you see, like Sean said, the coaches want to come here. He set us up for a lot, and people don't understand that yet because we haven't won yet. But every progress has that build up. You gotta get the pieces and not together. So next coach that comes here, he's going to be set because of what Dwayne Casey did, what Tom Gores and Troy Weaver have done. So I think Dwayne Casey's role here is overlooked sometimes because it doesn't result in wins. But as a coach and as a man, his word is gonna be much more in a couple years or years. So I'm looking forward to it.
And just think about this for the whoever's going to be the next head coach of the Detroit Pistons. I know every single room or every single gym in the NBA is full of great basketball minds. But you have not only John Beeline, who's been there assisting in development, you have
But
Dwayne Casey as well now. You have two of the best coaches on both levels of the sport in the past decade just available to ask questions and for advice at any time. Two of the best developmental minds in the game of basketball. And that just shows the commitment that Tom Gores is making to the excellence of coaching and development on this team. I mean, that's an investment.
It sounds like they're still going to kind of keep around a name that has been kind of moving up the ranks in the college in the kind of player development world, and that's Rashard Lewis. Like, people aren't talking about the fact that Coach Casey's offensive staff, like his coaching staff, his assistants, they've been getting poached. His just kind of look through the years, his staff has gotten poached. His development people have gotten poached. You know how we say augment your staff? He's been trying, and then those guys come out as candidates and they get poached. The Pistons system in general, gets for years, whether it be our assistant GMs, team presidents, and coaches, assistant coaches, or whatnot, they've generally gone to other places and done some good things. So I'm hoping that right now we can actually start to take advantage of that. And that's a key thing, man, that Sean talked about, the investment that Tom Gores is making to winning. The reason why it looked so bad for a long time is because he wanted to win now, but winning now realistically means going through the bad times right now, if that's what it takes. It takes a special strike of lightning as well as stroke of genius to be able to do what Joe Dumars did in 2004. And he proved that because it was much more difficult for him to pull it together after. It wasn't as if he just went out there and just, oh, yeah, this is the way to do it, and we're going to do it again. So, yeah. With this offseason strategy, man, there was one thing that Troy Weaver definitely said is a tool that we need. And, we were talking about it, last year when we said, are people underestimating or overlooking the loss of one person? We'll just leave him nameless. And that's exactly the piece or the one tool that Troy Weaver said that the Pistons need. He said, obviously, a 3-and-D wing. We need a rangy defender, defense first over offense, but we need someone who can go out there, shoot the ball at the very least, and play some lockdown defense. They had a hard time defending. Now, they believe Livers is going to be able to fit that bill somewhat, and so now you understand why they probably traded Sadiq Bey. It wasn't because of his offense. It was probably because of the defense. It's that was one thing I think we all know, but there's another caveat here because somebody asked a question as it relates to if you fall number 2, where are you going to be? If you go to number 2 in the draft, are you afraid? You have all these guards, what are you going to do? He was like, hold on. No, best player available is kind of the notion that I got. And then he made this notion and said, I will take 5 playmakers. I'll take 5 of those guys and put them out there one time.
Yeah,
you can never have enough creators.
Yep.
And so then it got me thinking whoa, what is the draft and the offseason strategy? And I'm going to go to you first, man.
I mean, it's simple, man. You take the best player available, you figure it out later. And even though we have a direct need, we know exactly what that is. If Troy Weaver's evaluation is that Scoot Henderson's the better player than Brandon Miller, he's going to take the better that he's going to take the player that's the best available at that position, and we're going to figure the rest out later. I mean, it's awesome as Jaden Ivey looked this season, as amazing as Cade Cunningham has looked at the beginning of at the beginning of his stretch. You know, when you are in this position, when you are when you do have the best lottery odds in the draft, you don't exactly have the luxury of drafting for fit. And so I think, when you're in a situation where, you can get those types of creators and now you have, three guards that you believe in and you want to see their development, you can compare and contrast how guys are playing, and you could see what the better fit is long term. And if you need to make trades or moves, you have valuable assets because these are all guards that, that multiple teams would want to get their hands on. So I think the reality of it is, it would be awkward if Detroit landed at 2. It would, obviously every team in this draft wants to get Wemby. That's, it's not a secret, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that they're in a bad position if they get that second pick. So I definitely, like we talked about those 3-guard lineups of Killian, Ivy, and Cade. But again, the real 3-guard lineup, it could potentially be Scoot, Ivy, and Cade. So excited to see what that could potentially be. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you go for the best available player and you figure the rest out later.
I saw Jalen down there smiling at that 3-man the 3-guard rotation. Hey, because like I said, man, we were kind of like, yo, Ivy, Cade, and Hayes to start this season. Can you imagine if the talent of the 3-guard rotation was that? But talk on it, man. Speak on it, Jalen.
Like Sean said, you take the best player available. This draft is it's just like it's not like other drafts because it wasn't a spot on pick, but you can use Cade Cunningham, right? Whoever got number 1 was gonna take Cade, I believe so, in that draft. Same with, the LeBron draft. And you kind of knew like, okay, this is number 1 person. This year, Wemby's gonna be number 1. Now 2 through 5 can go Scoot, B. Miller, the Thompson twins from the overtime elite. You got Whitmore from Villanova. You got dude from Houston. You got Joyce Walker. It's a lot of people, underrated gems, 3 and D guys from like 3 to 6 that you can possibly get. So I would love Wemby. That's obviously a fit. Number 2, I'm real big on that 3-guard lineup with Scoot, Ivy, and Cade. So I feel like we're gonna take who's ever like the best players available. And then you figure it out. Like you figure it out later. Once you get the person, you got a few months to figure summer league. You got, you can figure it out through the season. But honestly, man, 1 through 5, people don't want to talk about it. Whoever we get 1 through 5 is going to make a difference. If people don't know, they need to look up like the 1 through like 6 or 7 range because there's some dudes in there, some gems, like those twins, man. Like it's some gems in there that you want. But if we don't get like Wemby or Scoot, then I'm not going to be upset because I know it's something in there that we can use.
And we have a system where we have a culture that can take in whichever player and they will fit because we have, things in place. Like, yes, like we are, like at the bottom of the standings as far as the league goes, but we do have a culture in place. We do have an identity and a mentality and a philosophy and the things that you need, to have the skeleton of a successful rebuild. So, I do think, like obviously I know people are enthralled with the talent that Brandon Miller is. And, I definitely, think he would thrive if he was in a Pistons uniform. But I just personally would, if I was a general manager and I was told to pass on Scoot Henderson, I would be throwing up all night long. I wouldn't sleep. I would feel sick for years. Seriously.
Oh goodness. So I wasn't even gonna ask a question. I was gonna more or less be like, everybody here believes if the Pistons land at 2, that Scoot Henderson is the pick. Yeah. yo, in the chats, if the Pistons land at 2, is it best player available or best fit? And do you believe that Scoot Henderson is that best player available? Obviously, based on what Troy Weaver was saying, Brandon Miller might fit like what they believe is their hole, their weakness, what they have open right now. But I don't know the way he was talking when someone said, but is that going to change it what you do at number 2? I think if they fall to number 2, I think get ready for Scoot Henderson. But it's gonna be interesting to see. It's gonna be interesting to see. Obviously, if this guy possesses what they believe to be future Derrick Rose, you got to roll with that, man, and you just deal with everything else later, like the Cleveland Cavaliers did. We all kind of laughed, taking multiple guards. What are you doing? You're supposed to go and get a big now. And then we saw what that turned into for them. Ultimate flexibility. We talk about handing Troy Weaver a full chamber, man, to be able to go out there and just operate at maximum capacity. That's what I believe taking Scoot Henderson does for this Pistons team if they land at 2 over Brandon Miller, because I think you can sign guys or trade for guys with Brandon Miller's capabilities. I do. I believe that you can find those guys. I do believe that even though you might not find someone as efficient, maybe a shooter, you can find some guys, like you said, kind of throughout this draft that can fit that 3 and D, that wing position a little bit
3 and
better
D
than
wings
finding what
and
Scoot is.
yeah, 3 and D wings are a hot commodity right now. Everybody wants them. Everybody's looking for them. But the type of killer mentality, the type of dog that Scoot Henderson is, that's something that teams would throw themselves over balconies for. Like that's like
Man,
seriously, man.
Such
Like
a
if you
Sean
if you
Murphy,
watch
man.
the way that he plays basketball, if you watch that showcase against Victor Wembanyama, he wasn't scared. He went
at all.
at Victor like at any opportunity. Like this is a guy who he wants the moment, man. And I'll
Yep.
just keep bringing this up again just because I think it speaks a lot to where Scoot might want to end up. He was asked at the All-Star break what type of players he wants to play with in the NBA. And he said that he would love to play with players that are the likes of Chris Paul and Ja Morant. Well, those are interesting because if you look at the 2 guards that the Pistons have in their lineups, who have they been compared to? Cade Cunningham's been essentially called the 6'6" Chris Paul. And
Right.
ever since being drafted, Jaden Ivey can't escape the comparisons of Ja Morant. I'm just saying. There's
I
some
love it.
similarities there, and and if anyone could figure it out and make it work, it's the trio of Ivy, Cade, and Scoot.
We need it. We need it.
Which speaking of, I do want to transition one more thing before we sign off. How much it's apparent that Ivy and Cade, how excited they are, like not only to play with each other as players, they love each other as people. Like that relationship, if you listen to how they spoke of each other, those guys have a bond already. And when you look at like the successful Pistons backcourts that we've had, they've all been, foundational on the bond that those guards had with each other. Chauncey and Rip have a bond. Joey D and Isaiah Thomas have a bond. And it sounds like Kool-Aid and Jalen. It sounds like even if they haven't played together very much, it sounds like that relationship is already super strong between
Yeah,
those two.
that was one of the probably the star things of the media sessions, was hearing Cade Cunningham talk about how he always believed that he and Ivy could make it work. But because of the type of person sitting on the sidelines he's observed Ivy to be, both in his work ethic, in his character, on court and off court, he said he desires to make it work. He wants to make it work. He wants to win with Ivy. And then Ivy was reminded that he was told of what Cade said. And Ivy sat there as he heard him saying it. And he was like, I feel like that about Cade too. Like, he's our leader. He's been there every step of the way. He's been encouraging us. He's been this, he's been that. I want to win with him. I want to win. I want to win because of him.
He called him the team's vet. He's 21 years old and being referred to as the team's vet. That's Cade, man.
Bro, they're like bromance. I think that this is gonna be something. Y'all see, I added the DC up here, man. I got Batman, Robin, and Superman. There was a time when I thought
Kool-Aid and Sean levels of bromance, but it's building up there.
it's getting there.
Yeah,
It's getting there.
We'll give it some time.
Listen, I thought it was going to be a Cade, Ivy, Batman, Robin thing, and y'all have heard me say this before. This is really trending towards Batman and Superman, and you know what? I've heard other people say it. When you talk about hearing the organization saying things that we've continued to try to reiterate, and realistically, just to be completely fair, we set out to state, let's report, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. You know, credential coverage is coverage that is supposed to be one that is reporting to you what they're stating, and then we give our analysis on it. You know, and so we've kind of been every step of the way just kind of reporting it, and it's been something that has been resonating. And I think the cool thing is this: the team hasn't changed. We've been in situations where even as content creators, you know, before credentialed coverage and things, where, you know, we've seen teams say one thing and then they start to change their own tune. This
Mhm.
team hasn't changed course. They stated what they were going to do. They've been doing that. They stated what their strategy is. They've been approaching that. You know, they stated the commitments to the people. They've been approaching that. You know, so it's just like, okay, Troy Weaver, I want to be aggressive. Have we seen him not be aggressive? Every year he's turning the roster over by 6 or 7 players. He did that in one trade. In one trade, a future first round pick of Milwaukee Bucks, their 2025 pick, right? He traded that for 6 players from the New York Knicks, including Jalen Duren and Alec Burks. And as Rod Beard said, we can just cut it right there. If it was just those two for that first round pick, which is probably going to be bottom third of the first round.
Uh-huh.
Sheesh.
I'll never forget when he took over, like those first 3 days that he was able to start making transactions and really start to like do work. Like, do you remember the amount of trades this guy made? Like the amount of like this guy, like every single year makes radical foundational changes to the, you know, to what this roster is. And they've all been steps forward. Like even if, you know, on the wins column, it's technically been a step backward. Foundationally, it's been a step forward, and it leaves you like, you know, I just remember, you know, like the last time that the Pistons had like like one of the last times the Pistons had under 20 wins. Like I remember it was like back during like the Kyle Singler, you know, Jonas Jerebko years, and like and like
Look at
I don't
Jalen,
bring
dog.
and like I don't bring that up to like bash him, but like you look at like when you like when people are like, well, this team's been rebuilding for years. What's the point? It's like, no.
Bro,
This is
Jalen is sent. He's gone, bro.
this is completely different because after that year
Man,
happened, it's like, okay, what happens? Like, what's the direction?
He's
And we're like,
left.
I don't know. But like after this year, we know exactly what the direction is. We know exactly who we're building around. And one more thing, I'm glad he brought it up because Troy Weaver said something that I think we said multiple times during on table talks and streams. He said about Jalen Duren, I ain't putting a ceiling on that kid, which is, I feel like something exactly verbatim, something we've all said on this show.
Yeah. And am I the only one? Like, I like this. Don't forget Duren. He's Dr. Fate or someone. I gotta find somebody in the DC universe that's him. But you know what? When Duren talks, that Dr. Fate voice, I kind of dig it, man.
I
One
like
more
that.
thing, whoever advised him to do what he did with his hair that day,
I got a story.
I was gonna say you have because whoever advised him to do that is a genius because
He made me a
he was
believer.
playing with my heart, man.
He made me a believer. I made my tweet. I made that tweet. I was writing a book. I was like, he's
I had to
becoming
change
that.
my underwear like 6 times that morning, man. Like, my gosh.
He's becoming that one guy. I don't want to say his name yet, but he's becoming he. What's the word I'm looking for, man? He knows
Ben
what he's
Wallace-esque?
He's transcending.
Is that what you're looking for? Is that what we're
doing.
tiptoeing around?
Like a Virginia Union alumni. I
Go.
don't want to be too say his name,
Yeah.
but he's running it.
That
The
guy,
character he's running the character so crazy, man. And he knew what he was doing, and he got the exact reaction that he wanted.
This is the story, though.
I need to hear it.
Bro. So Jennifer Hammond doing the player interviews was like, yo, Fear the Fro 2.0 on his way out. And he was like, huh? And we were all like, huh? And like everyone was kind of like, wait. So the next day, bro. So the next day we were like, does he know? Like everyone was like, we don't think he actually understood what he did. Like They were just like, it's just the spirit. He just must naturally like have embodied, like, it's the end of the season. I'm taking my braids out. I'm showing up to the press conference, and you don't understand. When he walked into the room, everyone did what Sean did. Everyone was like, everyone was like, oh. And he sat down, and we were like, oh my God. Now, maybe he just don't know Fear the Fro. Maybe he don't know. I think he know what he's doing, though. And I think he's here for it. Because when you put that level of pressure on yourself, bro, I'm here for it.
He's young too, man.
Who will put that on him too. I'm sure Rasheed Wallace is. I know he ain't got his headphones in yet.
Are you good?
Bro?
You good?
He looks like him. He talks like him. He sounds like him. He
deflects like him.
It's scary.
Both defensively and in press conferences.
It's scary.
I mean, dog.
Dr. Jackal, Mr. Like it's scary because even if he doesn't know the Fear the Fro thing, he's younger. He's a social. He has to see this on social media.
Just get him his jacket right now, man.
He knows it.
Get him his jacket right now.
Just
get him his Hall of Fame jacket. We'll get the speech rolling. I mean, I'm there. Like,
Sean looks like he's just completely like just in it, just whatever. If you could drop me in a tank of enjoyment, that's what Sean looks like right now.
Professional.
That pig almost rolled me.
I'm optimistic about Jalen Duren's future. There we go. There's the professional outlook on it. Yeah, you might have murdered me on the spot there, Kool-Aid. I'm not gonna lie. That was a spiritual experience. What I just witnessed there, Lordy.
We're not supposed to make noise during these things except for typing. And when he walked in, we were all like, everybody was like, oh, like, it was just like, goodness gracious, dog. Like everybody, he was saying stuff like, I'm here to dominate every night, man. I'm trying to dominate every game. He was like, no, I knew what I was from the beginning. I knew I know G League. Like I knew what I could be. It was just like, ooh,
man,
that's nasty. It's like that LeBron James meme. Like,
so
that stank, don't it?
That man genuinely just went, oh, the season's done. I just took the braids out. That's literally what that was.
Listen, when you just take the braids out, we know how that hair look. That look like a picked out fro. He know what he's doing.
He picked it out.
I know what they're trying to say, but
yeah, because here's the thing, man. It looked like he literally looked up a picture of Ben Wallace and went, how do I make it look like that fro? Because it looked like that fro. But without a doubt, you guys, along with Rob Beard, oh, hey, man, we appreciate it, man. We put in the work.
Thank you, Doug.
We definitely care, but, also I honestly can say it from my perspective. Growing up as a fan, I was infuriated with the coverage we got or lack thereof. Our organization, in my opinion, deserves better. And so part of my goal is setting out to give them the coverage that they deserve, and which I believe is some of, if not the best coverage in the National Basketball Association. So that is what we are setting out to do here on When We're Pistons. So we appreciate the kind word.
And throughout all of it, that's kind of what spurred everybody getting together. I know on our very first table talk, it's what we talked about, and it's something that we're going to continue to do is try and bring coverage from multiple different angles. Like you're going to see from Half Court on this channel and on other channels, kind of the network of things, bringing as much professionality and as much of the fun as possible, so that this can truly be not just about Pistons culture, not just about Detroit culture, but about, state of Michigan culture too. And it's what runs deep. When we care about home is when I feel like the culture is the best, and home is each other. When those players and these people, they care about us. I got some content coming out from people who aren't even here anymore. But they said it was just the way Detroit and Michigan and the people here just grabbed them. They just loved it. They miss it. They love helping the people here. They love having fun with the people here. They love cheering on the people here. And that's just something different, man. Like even to hear Casey talk about it too. And so it's like being able to kind of be part of a wave that's bringing this culture all together, because it's kind of the first time that something like this in this city has been credentialed. Something in this city has been hosting. Like you'll see Sean at the forefront of our rare access huddles and whatnot. They are putting people who care about bringing Pistons coverage on a wide scale. And it's not just about the positivity. And talking to those guys and the Pistons PR, they said, we don't mind if you guys criticize us. We want you to criticize us. We want to be better too. We want our players and our coaches and our GMs being held honest as well, But to know that the push was about the professionality, to know that the push and the goal was always about bringing the best reporting coverage, analysis, making sure that guys are well studied. That's the reason why Sean is here. Look, Sean can host his tail off, but his basketball knowledge is something that I want a part of anything that I'm doing. And Jalen, with the way that he's presented himself, as well as others on this panel, man, there's many more, but obviously he's on the screen now. And one of the newest ones, we're not just adding people. It's not like, oh, someone's just getting added because they want to be a part of. We parse this stuff, man. Jalen showed up to Woodward Sports Studios in Birmingham, Michigan, ready to go in his best.
And I've known this guy for a while too. He's legit, so I can vouch for that.
Yep.
Thank you,
And it was about the work you had already done. Like he's already out there. I don't know if people understand it, but he covers high school sports in the state of Michigan. He's credentialed for it. He also does great photography work and videography as well. And as people are just hungry, like the things that he's going to be doing to bring and expand our Woodward Pistons coverage and content that we bring, this is what it's all about for us. So whenever we see people that, like the content, share the content, or even leave comments like this, it goes a long, long way. Y'all don't understand how far it goes just for even the mental. For the mental, we pour our life into this. It's truly a labor of love, and it's been an awesome experience to do.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I said it earlier today, this season by no means went how I expected it personally, professionally, for this team at all. But I'm beyond proud of the work that we did at Woodward Pistons and the great work that Kool-Aid did in the building this year. I'm proud of the relationships we've been able to build. Kool-Aid touched on it. I've been able to, have some awesome interviews with Rare Access, been able to talk to the likes of James Wiseman and Ryan Terrell from the Motor City Cruise. Both of those interviews are available. Yeah, Frank Garza as well. Hopefully, I'm trying to see if we can get the young bull himself, Luka, on this season, on this off season. Who knows? But yeah, man, all I know is, I'm more motivated than ever to, I know for a fact I can do this professionally, and I'm just going to keep putting in the work until that happens. But, I know for a fact as well that we here at this team are just getting started, and this summer is going to be not only big for the Pistons, but man, we're going to be there every step of the way, covering each and every little aspect of it, man.
And who hoops? We about to get stuff going. Jalen, I think Jalen gonna have to host these Woodward Pistons hoop sessions.
Hey man, I'm down, man. I may hop in, do a dunk or two, then bring the cam out. You never know, mid game.
That's the summer content. That's part of it. When we can get Sean out here to hoop, we are, but we definitely gonna make sure he can stream. He's
by the way
making sure that he keeps trying to entertain. Joke on everybody too, Sean, please.
By the way, can we talk about the fact that before the season wrapped up, we had George Blaha correctly announce a windmill dunk? Did we talk about that? Our boy,
we did a whole show on that. We did a whole show. Like, will he do it?
Yeah,
he did it. And I gotta let y'all know something. I knew he was gonna do that, man. When I heard, I was like, "Oh, he did it! He did it!"
You guys talked about it.
Season. It was crazy, bro. It was crazy. Like when I heard it, it was just like George Blaha knows, man. Like he's so clued in. We got some content coming. Everybody will be a part of it. Our table talk is gonna do a George Blaha special. I'm glad you mentioned that, man. We're gonna do this special, and it's gonna be pretty awesome.
I love George so much, man. Shout out to the GOAT. My gosh. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us for this special live stream. Thank you for supporting the content all season long. We obviously know how difficult, how hard it can be to stay invested, especially through a lot of ups and downs and trials and tribulations. But I think these interactions, these conversations, this type of content is what got me through this season. And so I appreciate all of you who commented on From Half Court or Woodward Pistons about how it helped get you through this season too. Seriously, you guys helped us tremendously. But be sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel so you're not missing any more content coming from Woodward Pistons. And also share with your friends and join in the conversation in the comment section down below. Also, be sure you follow my guys on social media so you're not missing all of the latest and greatest work that they have going on. My guy Jalen at Jalen HTV, my guy Kool-Aid at Detroit Kool-Aid. And if you're feeling so generous, you can even follow myself at Sean Half Court. But with that,
y'all have to follow Sean.
I will give Blaha more than his flowers. I will give that man the world. Believe me.
100%.
He's a good man. He's a good person.
The respect I have for George Blaha, we could can't be quantified. So believe me, that is going to happen. But with that, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time here on Woodward Pistons. Be sure you subscribe, baby.
Thank y'all, man. For real. Thank you guys. Thank you guys, man. All love. Till the next one, y'all.